Directors for Tuesday, August 3rd, 2021. Let's have roll call, please.
All right, Director Seaton,
Here.
Director Dye,
Here.
Director Marsh,
Here.
Director Clark,
Present.
and Director Sukumel. Not on as of yet.
Okay. As usual, we will start with general public participation. Anyone would like to speak on matters not on the agenda? Chuck, can you see any hands?
No, I cannot.
I don't either. All right. Someone just joined.
Hey, Matthew, I'm sorry to interrupt. This is Eric. I'm away from my computer, calling in from my phone.
Oh, hi. Good. Hi, Eric. So we're all here now. We just asked for public participation. There was none. We'll go to action agenda item number 1. Consideration of operations issues, BOD loading and process study at the Sewer Authority Mid-Coastside Wastewater Treatment Plant. So I know we have SAM representation, we have the SAM board president, and we have our GM. Let's Chuck, you want to start this?
Sure. So Kishan had sent me, and Kishan, I had let the memo go out earlier, and I corrected my mistake, but included in the board agenda packet, it's Caldwell presentation that was made to Sam. So Sam hired Brown and Caldwell Engineering about
Chuck, you're fading out. We're losing you.
I'm sorry. No, I was pausing because I was trying to mute some noise.
No, you're also going in and out. So.
Okay. I'll try and speak more directly. So Sam hired Brown and Caldwell about 3 or 4 months ago to do a plant process report based on some issues they were having at the plant. And what I've placed in your agenda is the PowerPoint presentation from Brown and Caldwell. That is backed up by about a 100-page technical memorandum, which I didn't send to your board because it's more of a SAM issue. This should highlight the main issues at the plant. Obviously, Brown and Caldwell, maybe Kishan can speak to this in a little bit. Brown and Caldwell focused mainly on the plant processes themselves and some of the issues they were having with aeration basins, how they could switch more easily between basins, use some of the basins in parallel, which are not piped to do right now. So the long and short of it is Brown and Caldwell has recommended a upgrade to the SAM plant, which will allow them to put various basins online kind of one at a time. And they've recommended their option 1. I have to switch to that. And that they're looking at something like, I think it's $600,000 for that kind of work. So coupled with all this is the ongoing BOD issues Sam has had from the member agencies. They've been tracking this for almost the past year now. And, we've got some issues with that as well. So we're going to look at that and how that impacts the plant processes. So I don't know, Kishan, do you want to add anything to that summary? What's been happening at SAM, anything like that?
Thank you very much, Chuck, for the introduction. Not really, you covered everything in the short summary, but I just wanted to inform the board that we started off with an upset, as you said, in the month of October of 2020. At that time, we had aeration basin 3, which was fitted with fine diffusers. That was the only basin running. And then in order to overcome that problem, we had some consultants who were in-house and who were working on other projects. And they came up with a solution that we should probably swap to aeration basin 1 and 2 because they had more capacity than just 3 alone. So we changed from 3 to 1 and 2. And at that point of time, also aeration basin 3 required maintenance. In fact, from the day that it was put sometime in late 90s, there was never an opportunity to do any maintenance. So we set aside aeration basin 3 and then jumped on to aeration basin 1 and 2. And the basic difference between aeration basin 1 and 2 and aeration basin 3 is that basin number 3 is fitted with fine diffusers, and basin numbers 1 and 2 are fitted with coarse diffusers. That beside the point, it also has variation in design, the way it is constructed. In the case of 1 and 2, flow comes in from the top and flow goes out from the top, while in aeration basin 3, flow comes in from the top and goes down from the bottom. So those are just minute details of the basins. So we went ahead and switched over to 1 and 2, but then as we started getting more flows in the month of January, February, a little bit of wet weather events, we realized that the basins 1 and 2 were really not serving the purpose because of the design the way it was. It was actually moving all those solids from the aeration basin 1 and 2 onto the secondary clarifier, and thereafter to the chlorine contact basin. That is primarily because of the way the design was. And once it started going to the chlorine contact basin, then it goes to the ocean. And there are violations to that effect. And therefore, at that point of time, we decided that we should send out an RFP and get engineering firms to suggest various process study or variations on what equipments need to be added extra in the aeration basin or any other units, and then find out how we can tackle the situation when we have high BOD loadings. So Brown and Caldwell was the apparently lowest responsive bidder, most qualified, and they started this study, and they have submitted a draft report which was presented to the SAM board on July 26th. They came up with several alternatives and then finally discussed it with staff and boiled down to 3 alternates and worked out the cost. We had multiple workshops with Brown and Caldwell, and attached in your packet are the 3 alternates, alternate 1, 2, and 3. And the most favored is alternate 1, which in short is getting aeration basin 4, getting diffusers and getting aeration basin 4 up and running. So that is the gist of their recommendation. And me and my staff, I have Tim Costello with me. We are here to answer any questions.
And so, I'm sorry. Let me, if I can, Nancy, just clarify some. So originally, Kishan, broadly speaking, there are 4 aeration basins. All 1, 2, and 3 were all coarse bubble diffusers, correct?
No, 1 and 2. You mean originally in the 90s? That I don't know. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But now, right.
Wait, no,
Okay.
that's not correct.
Okay.
In the early 90s, here I'm going to
Introduce Tim. Can someone introduce Tim?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is Tim Costello. He's the lead plant operator at SAM.
Thank you.
So
Hey,
in the early 90s, all we had were the coarse air diffusers. We had the aeration basin 1 and 2. And one of the problems that we had with those is it was part of the capacity and part of the design of the new improved plant. Aeration basin 3 and 4 weren't there. It was just basically a rock garden. I don't know if you guys remember, it was a rock garden where 3 and 4 are, and we had aerobic digestion. Now we have the anaerobic digestion. So yeah, I just wanted to clear that up. It was just
so, but a year ago, Tim, before we did all this work, what were the 3 basins running on? Fine versus coarse.
Aeration basin 1 and 2 were always coarse, and to be clear, aeration basin 3 is fine air, but aeration basin 1 and 2, it was one of those things that was sort of, I don't know, value engineered, I guess, as they were going through the last design. And we were supposed to end up doing some work to it, but none of the work ever ended up getting done in aeration basin number 2. And they were basically mothballed after the last expansion.
Okay, and
Yep.
so go ahead.
So the bottom line, Chuck, is that in the month of October 2020, we had aeration basin 1 and 2 with coarse diffusers, and
Right.
aeration basin 3 with fine diffusers.
Okay, So we didn't just retrofit aeration basin 3?
That was,
That's been fine the whole time.
Correct.
yeah.
But
Okay,
it
so
has
the
all
new,
brand new diffusers now. It's all the
So when-
diffusers.
it went from
replaced.
fine to fine, just newer diffusers.
The membranes were
Correct.
replaced. The membranes are supposed to be replaced roughly every, 7, 8 years. And that one was in service for almost 23 years. It had never had any sort of maintenance done on it at all.
Okay, and so the new plan by Brown and Caldwell is to have new fine air diffusers in 3 and 4. So those will both be new sets of diffusers. You'll use those as your main ones, and 1 and 2 will be redundancy, correct?
The new diffusers are already in aeration basin 3. So Brown and Caldwell's recommendation of alternative 1 is to install diffusers in aeration basin 4. Aeration basin 4 is just a tank. It's got nothing in it. It's
Yeah,
got
no,
no
I understand.
piping, no diffusers, nothing.
I understand
So,
that, yeah.
So it's getting the aeration
Got it.
basin 4 up to speed.
Oh, sorry, Nancy, to interrupt you. I just wanted everyone to be clear, including myself.
I toured, Tim and Christian gave me and Barbara a tour in October 2020 when you were had diverted to 1 and 2 and were getting ready, I think, to maintain 3. And my understanding was that 3 and 4 were both built at the same time, but 4 was never kitted out with the fine bubble diffusers. And so it was essentially just a tank. And even though it was built at the same time as 3, it was pretty much not useful, right?
Correct.
And so alternative 1, which not only the cheapest of the 3 alternatives, it's unusual that comes out the one that is favored, but it would actually take that tank that was built in the late 90s and make it functional for something, because otherwise it isn't functional.
Correct.
Correct.
You get almost double the capacity that you have with just using 3, and then 1 and 2 is just backup for.
Well, it triples the capacity, really.
Oh.
Not that linear, but yeah,
not
it
that
adds more.
Yes.
Am I sensing
From
is that
2,600 to 4,480, so not quite double, just with 3 and 4 from 3 alone.
Yes.
am I sensing a general shift from containment of different businesses and other, the plumes at the point when they're coming into the system, to kind of accepting that this is these elevated levels is kind of how it's going to be, and we just need to upgrade everything to handle them? Is there kind of a general shift in that?
That's kind of a broader discussion. We were going to get to that next, David, because that's kind of the point source, what they call point source BOD loading issue. And, I was going to talk with Kishan and Tim, obviously offline, a little bit about that. But there are 2 ways. I liken this to an I&I problem. So all sewer systems have I&I problems. And if you have 5,000 connections, to homes, you've got 5,000 I&I problems.
What's
plus
I&I?
I'm sorry, inflow and infiltration. So that's the stuff that when it rains, it leaks into the system. So all the joints in the system have leaks into it. And this is why treatment plant flows double, sometimes triple, sometimes quadruple when it rains. So there's 2 ways to resolve that issue. One is at the source, but now you've got to solve, pick your number, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 point source. Or you can size your sewer plant or system to handle that wet weather, which is kind of what we've done with the wet weather storage tanks. Rather than try and solve all those problems, we gave the plant a buffer. And the BOD is kind of the same question. Can we resolve all the issues? And we don't know how many there are. We've talked about before, breweries have been demonized a little bit, but we've got high reads from everywhere, from Half Moon Bay and other parts that aren't downstream of breweries and whatnot. So can the plant deal with a BOD flow, influent flow of 450, 500? I don't know. And that's probably a better question for someone more expert than me, like, the guys at Brown and Caldwell. Is it a simple matter of putting these 2 aeration basins online and that will deal with that? Because point source reduction is expensive, number 1, and it's often difficult to find all the point sources. So I hope that answers your question, David.
Barbara?
Would it make sense to have a meeting with the engineers from each agency and the Brown and Caldwell and the SAM team to really have sort of engineer to engineer discussion of some of the point source issues and the treatment issues? Seems like that could be valuable rather than just an occasional kind of meeting or presentation at a board meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be valuable. I don't know about you, Kishan, but you know, it's all part of the same system. We've kind of separated the treatment and the collections, but I think it'd be valuable. What do you think, Kishan?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely it would be valuable to have engineer to engineer discussions, and we can then bring it back to the respective boards and determine what it is. But in the meanwhile, we've sent out reports and we've sent out the PowerPoint presentation about 10 days back. We'd like at least the member agencies to come back with some questions or something so that Brown and Caldwell can at least keep things ready rather than bring it up all in that meeting with the engineers. So send out the reports to your engineers and see if there are any questions, any concerns, and then we can have a meeting if required.
I guess one of my questions also is just, as we've been following it, it's like, what's the number one theory where this came into being and became an issue, where it wasn't on the radar before? And then what caused the idea that at various points, we heard, oh, it's solved, it's no longer an issue, it's under control, and then it popped back up again. What is the theory for why over the last, almost year, this has kind of been, in and out as far as being a problem, not being a problem? I mean, is there any theories behind that, or, did something break and then it was fixed and then broke again? Or I'm just wondering what connecting those dots with everything else.
Well, the issues at the plant recently, and Tim could speak better this than me, but the filamentous growth isn't necessarily and probably a BOD issue. There's other issues related to that. Brown and Caldwell touched on that a little bit in their report. Tim and Kishan, do you guys have a good track record of influent BOD prior to October 2020? Is that part of your regular testing?
Yes, we do have it, but keep in mind, even Brown and Caldwell have mentioned that several times in the board meeting, that it's not the average BOD which has caused upsets in the plant.
Yeah, right.
Let me just finish. So it's the spikes which are coming in. The spikes are not measurable because you don't know. We haven't put samplers in location to measure spikes. The samplers measure the average BOD. But the fact remains that the average BODs have gone up over a period of time. So if the average BOD has gone up, you can imagine how much the spikes would have gone up. So these are the ones which cause upsets in the plant process. And Brown and Caldwell have also mentioned it clearly that in spite of that, even if we do the upgrade and get aeration basin 4 up and running, they cannot guarantee that it will handle all spikes. That is for sure.
Nancy?
So when it seems like the issue tends to come and go, if the issue isn't coming and going, it's somebody's releasing something into the system over a short period of time, then they stop doing it, and then they start doing it again. That's what's causing the spikes.
Yeah,
Correct.
could be, yes.
Okay.
And part of the problem when it's not a broad rolling, you're starting to go needle in a haystack, right? I think I told you all the story when we had the school next to us at my plant down here did a deep clean, and they dumped a whole slew of chemicals in there and knocked the plant out. And we have no idea it's happening until later on you find that kind of stuff out. So yeah.
So is there any action needed here on this item, or this is more informational? And because there's going to be a presentation to us at the SAM board later on the Basin 4 retrofit, and then I guess does that item come back to the GCSD board? Or I know it was preliminary, it was placeholder anyway in the CIP budget for SAM.
Yeah, I only placed this on the agenda because of Kishan's email to me this weekend, and just to give your board an update. the BOD issue is a larger issue we're going to have to discuss. And I think this meeting you suggested with Brown and Caldwell and the engineers, you know, we can start broader discussions on all that stuff.
Yeah.
No
And,
action necessary. Yeah.
if I may elaborate further on one of the pages which are in your packet, which talks of capacity of alternatives. You know, we have those figures which talks of BOD loading, 2600 AB3 online. Alternative 1, it says 4480. These are all BOD loadings. So it's not what we're talking of 450 milligrams per liter BOD. So it's a load. So the BOD loading is primarily the BOD in milligrams per liter times flow in gallons per day. So if you take the existing aeration basin 3 alone, which we are running right now, the existing basin can handle BOD loads of about 2,600 pounds per day, which amounts to about 240 milligrams per liter BOD. It can handle only 240. And the average BOD coming into the plant right now, or since October or whatever, is always more than 400. So there is a potential for having problems at the plant if this exceeds. So I just wanted to make it clear that this is the situation where we are in right now. So the recommendation given by Brown and Caldwell, which is alternative 1, shoots the BOD loading capability to 4480 pounds per day, which arrives at almost 420 milligrams per liter BOD. So that's the study which Brown and Caldwell had done. They had done modeling. They put in various flows and data that they collected from SAM, and they arrived at these BOD loading. I just wanted to make it clear about the BOD loading. Thank you.
So
Yeah, and that's a good point, Kishan, and I don't want to deep dive too much into that. You know, the engineers, the process guys can talk about that, you know, better than us. Yeah.
I'd like to mention that I don't think we're very near to action because Brown and Caldwell has done a very thorough and fine job. And however, when you look at the alternatives and their pricing, they did a very elaborate pricing scheme to estimate these. However, in my opinion, they have to be considered as really rough estimates because they are fudged as they could be 50% less or 100% more. So they could be half as much as quoted or twice as much. And that should factor into which alternatives is selected. I certainly understand that the SAM staff has been working like crazy and doing overtime, and they're very frustrated, and they would really like to get this problem under control and go back to normal operation. But I want to be sure that we, given the overage likely on any one of these alternatives, that we do all we can to make an educated decision. And you know, I strongly endorse that idea about the engineers getting together and seeing what everyone thinks.
Yeah.
do we have any ideas on the gaps in between before it spikes up again? Is it like, you know, a week in between? Is there any data on that, or no? I mean, what is you said we could just see the average, so just one average reading a day is what is the data we can look at for those to see those gaps in volatility?
Well, Kishan has put together, or Kishan and Tim, I don't know, Sam has put together a broad spreadsheet showing all their influent reads, as well as another maybe, I don't know, 7 or 8 or 9 points in the system. So they've got points in the system in Princeton, basically points in the system in Half Moon Bay. They've got one north of Portola Pump Station, which measures that. Then they've got a measurement point in your, what do you guys call it? Your primary settling basin, the one in front of the aeration basins.
Yeah, the primary, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So they've got one in there as well as in the aeration basin. So they've got samples from all over, and it's a pretty big, broad spectrum. But remember, David, it's not, when they sample this stuff, it's not a continuous sample. I think Tim told me they sample their aliquot. They do it, I don't know what, 8 times a day or 24 times a day. Or,
It's a composite sampler, so yeah, I think it takes one sample every hour or every half hour. I'd have to talk with the technician that sets up the samplers.
yeah, but
not
it's in
me.
that broad range. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's in that
yeah.
range.
Correct.
Okay.
And so you'd see high samples for a couple days and then it would go away for a week or so, or a month even, or what?
Yeah, sometimes you might only see like a big spike one day, and then you might not see anything in that same area for a week or a week and a half. So it's really inconsistent, which makes it really hard to track, and it makes it really hard to narrow down where exactly it's coming from, other than broad range areas where there's a lot of side pipes coming into it.
Yeah, and every half hour, every hour, even that's, you could get a spike that misses that half hour. You could get a spike that misses the hour. You could catch a spike in one of those hours, and that's why you kind of try and look at broader things. I think maybe more of the issue is that primary settling basin, because that's kind of got everything mixed in place, and that usually smooths it out a little bit from what my analysis showed. Obviously when it comes in high, it stays a little higher in that primary basin, but
So is there anything else we need to talk about?
Anything else just from Tim in terms of kind of being on the ground, just theories of what it could be, or other, it sounds like even if we go with this upgrade and everything, there's still going to be spikes of volatility, especially if this keeps continuing to rise at higher and higher levels, that all of a sudden we still can't even handle with the new upgrades. So I'm just wondering anything else in terms of, is there any idea about investing in the better tracking so that we can get a better handle on this, or anything else, in terms of kind of going down that front?
You want to take that, Kishan, or you want me?
Yes.
I was doing some math, so.
No problem. Yeah, Director Seaton, just to let you know, we have indicated certain requirements that we want from all member agencies, and we have sent it out. It's actually a closed session item. So you would probably hear it from your general manager in a closed session. We've sent out a memo over the weekend, and we've laid out certain guidelines, what we want to do. So we are waiting on a response from the member agency managers as to how we wish to move forward. Keep in mind that the Regional Water Quality Control Board is also keeping track of what we are doing, and so that's why we're waiting on a response from the member agencies quickly. It's a closed session item, and you could probably get in more information from your general manager.
okay. Anybody else got any questions?
Thank you, Kishan and Tim, for coming.
Thank you.
And for
Thanks,
all the
guys.
hard work, our thanks to all the people at SAM who are working so hard to try to fix this. We really appreciate it.
I will spread that word to the folks at work. They'll appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. What's the board's pleasure? We're going to go into closed session. I don't know whether there's anyone in the meeting who would like to comment on the closed session item. Should we ask for public comment?
Yeah, and let me read the closed session item is conference with real property negotiator, government code 54956.8. The property's 480 Avenue, Alhambra. The district's negotiators Chuck Duffy. Negotiating parties are Candace DeQuisto, and under negotiation is the regarding terms and price of lease. So now public comment from anybody.
Okay,
No hands are up, Matthew.
we are going to go into closed session. So
Okay, so I'm gonna kick Fran off and Emily. So don't get your feelings hurt, but we're going to closed.
Chuck, also PCTV.